everybody, my name is Kathy Mera I'm so glad you guys are here today. Thanks for coming on. I'm gonna hope that a lot of people can join on live, but even if you're just watching the replay, I'm so glad you're here. This is a chance for me to impart some of the wisdom that I've learned over the past 5 years and of healing myself. So you may or may not know my story. So about a little over 5 years ago, I had been dealing with a bunch of health problems for quite some time, kind of pushing them off, throwing them, sweeping them under the rug and trying to manage my symptoms with over-the-counter medications and things like that. But, and I was formerly a professional singer. So I started having some vocal issues, as well as had been experiencing some other digestive problems, allergy issues, that type of thing. And then I had sort of like a trauma happen in our family, and through that trauma, my health went completely over a cliff. I developed over 30 symptoms, most of them neurological symptoms, including spasmodic dysphonia. So I just wanted to give you a little backstory. I wound up being very successful healing myself, thank God, through using medical medium information, using mindset, emotional work, nervous system regulation, and learning how to manage my energy. So I talk a lot about all of that kind of stuff because I think that we're all holistic beings and we need to address our illnesses from all the categories, because just using food alone, I think can be effective, but I think that you're giving more of a powerful punch when you're coming at it from all the angles. But with that being said, today you guys voted and we discussed what subjects we're going to be covering. So somebody put in the comments all three. So if I have time, I'm going to try and just touch on all three categories of healing. So the number one vote getting subject for today was, what are the most cleansing foods? So you'll notice that a lot of those cleansing foods are peppered into the medical medium cleanses. So that's one thing that that's a tip off right there. If a food is contained within a cleanse, there's a very good chance that that is a maximum healing kind of food. So of course, we have talked before about the importance of celery juice. I'm a big celery juice fan just because I feel like in addition to cleansing your body, it also helps support your nervous system, your brain health as it's doing it. So as we're cleansing, it's important to also have all sorts of electrolytes and minerals in our system. That's the thing that we may not be aware of. But as we're cleansing, oftentimes those toxins use the minerals as sort of a balancing thing. For instance, if it's an acidity that's in the body, it uses the alkaline mineral to bring your system back to a proper pH. So for instance, like all of the metals the heavy metals that are in our bodies are acidic. And so things like calcium and magnesium and potassium, vitamin D are all alkaline. And that's why you see a lot of people with a lot of deficiencies in all of those alkaline minerals, because the acidity in their bodies are using those minerals basically that would be utilized for other things, just to simply bring the pH of the body back down. So, or I should say back up, because acidity is low on the pH scale and alkaline is higher. So of course celery juice, because not only is it loosening the metals that are lodged in our brain and in our organs, then it also has a propensity to hydrate us on such a deep level that we can then begin to flush out those things. And that's what we want to do. That's what we're all aiming towards, is getting them loosened enough that we can then whisk them out of the body, because when they're out, they're no longer harming us, if you know what I mean. So, of course, another powerful one is just simply lemon water first thing in the morning. If you wake up and the first thing you do is drink 16 to 32 ounces of lemon water, and you can adjust how much lemon you're comfortable putting in there. I generally put about a quarter of a lemon, depending on how big it is. If it's a tiny lemon, I'll put a half. I don't like it super sour personally, so that's just my take on it. But you know, it's a personal preference, and also obviously the more you can squeeze in there, the more minerals you're going to be providing. But this lemon water gives your liver a flush first thing in the morning. So the liver starts activating around 3 a.m. every day, and after resting for a few hours, it comes back on board, and then it starts trying to do its job of detoxing out of any of the toxins that you encountered the day before. So when we feed it the lemon water first thing, it gives it a chance to flush out those toxins that it just expelled. So again, the key to feeling better is to get the toxins out. We want to avoid them recirculating and coming back into our bodies. So first of all, the celery juice, the lemon water. Then, of course, the next powerful hitter is the heavy metal detox smoothie. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, if you've tried it. I know some of you guys are long timers doing medical medium. Some people, maybe this is the first you're hearing about it. So there's a smoothie that incorporates all of the elements that you would need to properly escort the metals out of the body. So sometimes it takes a team, and you have to pass the baton on to the next guy. So that's kind of the principle of this smoothie, because it has several different elements that are actually good for whisking the metals out. So the first big ingredient is wild blueberries. Now, that's not the same as regular cultivated blueberries. Wild blueberries have special principles and special attributes, I should say, that are extra powerful because they are an adaptogen. So those wild blueberry bushes have grown naturally over many years. They can survive a fire. They can survive being cut down to like the nub, and they will come back. So the wild blueberry bush has this like strong like genetic propensity to withstand any adversity. And so that we want to capture that power in the food. So the wild blueberries themselves then embody that power that gives us the chance to, get over this tough time. Because when we're chronically sick, we have things that aren't working well. Spasmodic dysphonia is a very debilitating condition, and it can affect all of the aspects of your life and who you see yourself as. And I know how that is. So we need a powerhouse like wild blueberries to help us come back to ourselves, come back to our strength and our power. And so that's the beauty of wild blueberries. But that's the first ingredient in the heavy metal detox smoothie. You can actually, have the wild blueberries in the context of the smoothie, but they're beneficial just by themselves as well. So, I oftentimes, if I don't have all the ingredients for the smoothie, I'll just put a bowl of wild blueberries, and I get them frozen. Wyman's is the big brand, but also I get them at Costco, some other brand, I don't know, but they're all good. So as long as they say wild blueberries and not just regular blueberries, you're good. And they're not going to say organic, by the way, because they do not require the amount of spray and sort of thing that regular cultivated blueberries require. So they are not sprayed regularly, and the power of the actual blueberry outweighs the fact that they're not considered technically organic. And that's okay. So I'll put like a bowl of frozen wild blueberries and, drizzle some honey on top and maybe slice up a banana. And then, like, generally speaking, I'll let it sit there for maybe 10 minutes or something like that. And then it's usually kind of thawed out enough for me to eat it. But that's just a real simple breakfast idea that you can use if you don't have all the ingredients for the heavy metal detox smoothie, or you're just kind of getting into this and you just want to start baby stepping it into this lifestyle. That's like a good choice for breakfast. So so the other ingredients for the heavy metal detox smoothie are cilantro, which also makes the list as one of the highest cleansing foods, because the cilantro has a really wonderful propensity for carrying heavy metals out of the body. So we want to do that whenever possible. And so, some people have an aversion to cilantro. For them, it tastes like soap. But, Anthony William talks about that, and the fact that people who have the aversion to cilantro probably have the biggest need for that, because it is the metals in their brain that's causing it to taste bad to them. So ironic, right? Anyway, so the other ingredients for the heavy metal detox smoothie are an orange or orange juice. I prefer just putting the whole orange in there. I am one, you'll find out by the more you get to know me, if I can save a step and make it easier on myself, I do that, because I'm not here to prove to anyone that I'm hitting all the marks perfectly. I'm here to get as much of it in as I can and not kill myself in the process. I just want to make it the path of least resistance for myself. So I just peel the orange and put it in there. I try to get the kind that doesn't have the seeds, so I don't have to fish those out. But occasionally, if whatever, I get the kind with the seeds. It is what it is, and I fish the seeds out and put it all in there. But so then there's a couple of specialty ingredients that you probably don't have on hand unless you've been doing medical medium for a while. But one is called spirulina, and that is kind of an algae that grows in fresh water. And I use the kind that's from a company called Vimergy, but I think that there are some other good ones out there too. I just tended to go again, you'll find out, I don't want to spend hours and hours having to research a bunch of supplement companies and read their ingredients and like research them. I want to go path of least resistance. So when I began my medical medium healing journey, I decided I would just use the supplements that he recommends, because simply I just wasn't, especially when I was sick, I was not up to the task of fully researching a bunch of other stuff. I just took his word for it and said, okay, I'm doing this and I might as well just go all in with this mode of going, and that's what I did. So you guys, of course, I encourage everybody, this is an individualized path, and I don't know what your budget constraints are. I don't know what, your time. You may be an excellent researcher. You might know a lot about supplements. So I did not really know that much when I first started out. So I just went with the recommended one. So similarly, after the spirulina, there's barley grass juice powder, which is not to be confused with barley grass powder. They're different. And so we want the barley grass juice powder. And again, I get that from Vimergy. And then there's another ingredient called Atlantic Dulse that is also in the heavy metal detox smoothie. So Vimergy has a liquid form of this that you can use the dropper and drop it into the smoothie that way. I prefer to just use regular Atlantic Dulse that I get from Maine Coast Sea Vegetables, and I order, now that I've been at this a while, I ordered it on Amazon when I first started, but now I order it directly from the company. And I'll put a link down below for both Vimergy and for the Atlantic Dulse company, because I order 2-pound bags, which is a giant bag of Dulse, but it lasts me, several months. Then I don't have to worry about ordering it again, and I don't have to, run out of it. And then I can use as much as I want, and I feel like I'm Dulse rich. So that makes me feel very good. because I know I'm going to get my smoothie in me, Sometimes there are times when I've gone to the store and there's no cilantro, and you're just like, oh, the panic, of that. You're just like, you can't always get it though. You just got to do your best. We're just doing our best here. So let's see. Did I tell you all the ingredients? I'm a rambler, so I didn't put that down in my notes. I was just going from memory. So I will link a recipe for the heavy metal detox smoothie. I don't think I mentioned the bananas yet. So 2 bananas go in there as well. So it's a nice smoothie. It might be an acquired taste. Of course, as anything that I'm going to recommend, you want to start small. So you can make a big old smoothie, that's no problem. But in terms of the powders, the spirulina, the barley grass juice powder, and the Atlantic dulse, I would go really small amounts to begin with, because also we don't know how it's going to affect you. For me, it took me a couple of years to fully be able to have the full amount of the smoothie without it kicking out my neurological symptoms. So everybody's different. We all have our lymphatic systems are all kind of in different places. Some of us are readily moving toxins out, but I was not one of those. And I had so many other neurological things going on that just obviously my lymph system was not doing its job yet. And so it would just make me feel really dizzy and kind of more spasmy, because I had a constant spasm from my right eye down to my right hip in my body. And so it would just kick it up even stronger. So I had to kind of play with that. And you will have to play with your individual abilities also, because again, we're all different. I don't know where you're coming from. You might be coming from the standard American diet, which is what most of us grew up eating, if you're in the States especially, and that's kind of common. And so as we come off of that standard American diet and start implementing some of these things, we just have to be mindful to go slow and to pay attention, to listen to our bodies, because our body is giving us clues. And I was ignoring mine, unfortunately, for the longest time. So you definitely want to listen, and if it seems like too much, back off. And also, I want to just raise this caveat: I would not start celery juice and the heavy metal detox smoothie at the same time. I would start one and give it a few days, and then you can add in the other. And with the celery juice too, I don't think I mentioned this, but you want to work your way up to 16 ounces, but you don't want to start there. You would want to start with just maybe a couple, you get that head of celery. You just break off a couple of those stalks and juice them. You don't even necessarily need a juicer, although that is the most efficient way to do it. But if you put it in a high power blender, and then if you have a nut milk bag or a cheesecloth or something, you squeeze it out, get the juice out that way. It's a good way to start out in case you don't have a juicer yet and you just want to try it, see what you think. So I mentioned the celery juice, the lemon water, heavy metal detox smoothie, the wild blueberries and cilantro on their own. Of course, the citrus and the banana that's also in that smoothie is very cleansing as well. So that's a good little clue that it is something that's good. Citrus is excellent because not only does it give us tons of minerals and vitamin C and calcium, all that good stuff, it also helps to neutralize heavy metals in our body, which it doesn't necessarily extract the metals, but it neutralizes them, because the metals that are in our brain, for instance, they rust and have runoff, much like you would see in nature. If you see an old metal something sitting outside getting rained on and stuff like that, eventually it starts rusting. Well, something similar happens in our brain, and it's a little tiny speck of metal that's in there. It's not like huge, it's microscopic, but it still has a chance to oxidize, and then when any sort of tissue in the brain that comes in contact with that piece of metal, or anyway, it starts having a runoff effect. And so the tissue around that little speck of metal is also sickened by it, I want to say, maybe just not functioning as highly as it would be otherwise without that piece of metal in there. So, and those pieces of metal interrupt our brain signals, like, you know, if our brain's trying to connect with our throat to say, I want to speak now, it could be that a little speck of metal is sitting right in the pathway from your brain to your throat, and it's diverting it to some weird other thing. So that is one of the ways that the metal impedes the normal functioning in our body. So another great food, so easy too, apples. So apples are unique in the fact that they have that roughage and the pectin in them that actually move the toxic waste out of our digestive tract. So once we get the metal out of the brain, through the bloodstream, and finally out through into the colon area where it's going to be excreted with our waste, the apples actually are kind of like a broom and help to kind of like sweep and push all of those toxins out. So apples are fantastic. You know that old saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, that, you know, that has some wisdom to it. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, sometimes the ancient practices are in place for a reason. Those people saw the benefit over the years in their own lives, and, you know, made it sort of like a thing to do. So, and they were right. So apples are great. Another food is Brussels sprouts. So Brussels sprouts are particularly beneficial to the liver. And what we're also aiming at is trying to get that liver detoxed enough so that it can come back on board with all of its 2,000 jobs. Often when we're overburdened in the liver, our digestion is off because the liver is no longer producing bile. Our blood sugar is off because we are no longer storing glucose to help us get through the time between meals. So the Brussels sprouts have a unique property that helps support the liver. And similarly, asparagus is in that category too. And you'll notice that both of these are featured in the original 369 cleanse, as well as the advanced one. So these are powerful foods that can be used for helping to detox our bodies. So another group, I'll call this next like a group of herbs, because herbs and wild foods, we already talked about the wild blueberries. So herbs have a very potent punch. And one thing I want to mention too is that technically celery is an herb and not a vegetable. So I did not know this. That was news to me. But they all have antiviral properties, antibacterial properties, antifungal properties. So one in particular that is fantastic is thyme. We can use that as just like make it into a tea. We can also add it to our drinking water, so let it soak overnight. You could put like a jar of water into the refrigerator and like put some thyme, but like kind of crush it or squeeze it, tear it up a little bit so that it's not just intact, so you can release some of the chemicals that are in the thyme, and put it in the water and put it in there overnight. So in the morning you could actually add your lemon to that, and that would even be a little bit more potent, because the thyme is going to be antiviral, which is going to get rid of the pathogens that are in our body that are causing our spasmodic dysphonia and other things too. So thyme, parsley is another really, really cleansing herb, and you can use that, to season your food. You could put it in your salad. You can juice it and make a green juice with that, and some cucumber, and apple or grape, and all that good stuff. So lemon balm is another really, really powerful herb that you can use it actually calms the spasming down in our bodies so that you can, return your nervous system to more of a calm state. And it's also very antiviral, and it's also very gentle, which is kind of nice. So rosemary, oregano, all of these herbs are sage. Sage is another great one to get rid of metals. So you definitely want to start getting curious about some herbs and maybe get a little plant. You can put it on your windowsill. It makes it super easy and more affordable. You start kind of growing a little herb garden. All that good stuff is great. Another wild food I want to talk about is aloe. So aloe is, and I'm talking about the kind you get at the grocery store, and they're big fat leaves, and they have this gel inside. And so you take off the outside skin and you just use the gel. But it has an amazing ability to get rid of waste in our body and radiation in our body. It's got so many properties that are helpful, and especially if you're experiencing any sort of digestive issue, I would highly recommend getting into some aloe. You can add it into your smoothie in the morning, or you could eat it just plain. Some people just take a bite of it and eat it. I like to make aloe water out of it, which is just putting like a 2-inch slice into the blender with about 16 ounces of water and just mixing it, and then drinking that. And that is, it kind of has a little bit of a herby taste. I don't know what to describe it. It's kind of fresh, but also different, but I like it. And on the times when my digestion was off, or I caught like a stomach bug or ate something that did not agree with me, and this has helped my husband too. That aloe snaps it back quick. So I'm a big fan of aloe if you are in the mind to try it. Cucumbers are another really wonderful cleansing food because they're very high water content. So you can use them in a juice. For instance, if you're going to have some surgery or you had some dental work done or something like that, you want to flush out all of that stuff. A little cucumber apple juice, with the parsley or whatever you want to add to it. Sometimes I even add asparagus or Brussels sprouts to my green juice so that I can get that extra powerful punch from all that stuff. It just depends what I have in my refrigerator. That's the thing that you'll learn too. It's I'm famous for kind of inventing recipes and winging it with what I have, and just trying to stock up on all of these things as much as possible. But we can't always get them, and they aren't always even available in the store for us. So let's see what's on the list. Melons are another one for the high water content. Watermelon is, of course, my favorite. But during watermelon season, I will make blended watermelon a lot, almost daily, because it's super easy. If you're going to make a juice, again, I'm looking for the path of least resistance, and that's the hardest part of that whole thing is cutting up the watermelon. Once it's cut up, then you just throw it in the blender. I put a little lime in there with it, and it is delicious. And especially if it's hot in the summertime, which is hard to imagine because it's 4 degrees where I am right now. But you can add a couple frozen chunks. You could put some of the watermelon chunks into the freezer and then just pull them out like little ice cubes and put them into the mix. And so that when you blend up the watermelon, it's so refreshing and cold and just yummy. So that is a good one because the melons are very alkalizing, and they also help you escort and flush and get your lymphatic system moving and all that good stuff. So that's super important. Of course, onions and garlic both they're high in sulfur, which the bacteria and viruses in our bodies do not care for sulfur, and they can't thrive in an environment with sulfur. So those are excellent for getting rid of, especially potent for bacterial things. If you have any sort of a stomach bug going on, or you have a UTI or something like that going, or you're feeling just like something's coming into the funk is getting you. Those are great tools to use. You can even, I've never tried this, but I've always wanted to. So you can take a couple slices of onion and put them on the bottom of your feet. You could put it on the bottom of your foot, put some saran wrap around there, and then put a sock on over there and sleep with that overnight. And I am told that can be like a miraculous little healing tool if you're feeling the funk coming on. So anyway, if you try that, let me know, or if you've ever done it. I would love to know. Turmeric is another really powerful cleansing food, and also a healing food that can help, especially with spasmodic dysphonia, because of its anti-spasmodic properties and the fact that it's like a relaxer for the nervous system and the muscles. So you could add that into the green juice as well, or just, I like to get it fresh if you can. You can get the root at the grocery store. Not all of the grocery stores carry it, but a lot of them do. And so you can just add it into your green juice along with the other stuff that we talked about already. Or you can just add it into your cooking if you prefer. You can just, chop up some turmeric and put it into your recipes and eat it that way. So that's another idea. And there's also a really powerful shot that is called a garlic ginger turmeric shot. It's basically juiced the turmeric, the garlic, and the ginger, and then you just add it into like one juice of an orange, one or two, whatever you want to do. I'll tell you what, that is another one that is like, woo! That's a spicy meatball. That one will like spicy when you drink it, but it's almost like instantaneous. You feel like your sinuses poop open, and you feel whatever was growing in your throat, like a funk in there, is like gone. So that's like another really powerful healing tool. Radishes, believe it or not, are excellent for detoxing the liver. And a fun fact about the greens that are on the top of the radishes, that a lot of times you don't even see those in the grocery store, but the greens are actually really great for getting rid of metals in the body as well. So, what I like to do, I actually tried my hand at growing some radishes this past year. So I actually did better growing the greens than the actual radishes. For some reason, I got these little dinko radishes and like bushy greens. So I don't know, I got to figure that out. But I like to juice the greens because, again, getting the metals out, something like that is a great idea. Artichokes are another fantastic cleansing food. They are especially good for your thyroid. And so if you have any sort of thing going on with your thyroid, artichokes are something maybe to consider. I never ever ate an artichoke that wasn't in a dip of some sort before I started my medical medium journey. And now they're one of my favorite treats because I don't need anything on them. I just throw them in my Instant Pot and steam them, and then I just love them plain. I just think they're so delicious that there's something in there that I need because I'm really attracted to them. When I'm at the grocery store, I'm like, woo, look at those artichokes. I get really, excited if I see those massive ones that I know are going to be like so worth the work. Because, artichokes, they're a little, you got to like just bite off the flesh that's on the leaves individually. It's almost like a snack, though. It's kind of fun, like eating chips or something. So a couple of other foods I wanted to mention, especially for people in this group, are papaya and mango, because both of them also are extremely antispasmodic and help our nervous system kind of calm down. Now, papaya in particular is also extremely good for the digestive tract. You probably know of people who have papaya pills or something if they get an upset stomach. So the papaya is really, really great for, nervous system stuff as well as digestive stuff. And then mango, similarly, is so calming for the nervous system, and that's what we're looking for us, especially suffering from spasmodic dysphonia. Hold on, take a sip of my lemon water. Okay. So one other food I did not mention also is ginger. Ginger is also very calming to our nervous system. And you can actually add it into your lemon water as well. You can, one of my favorite tricks is I juice a bunch of ginger, and then I put a little bit of juice in this ice cube tray. And so each little compartment has just a little layer of ginger in it, ginger juice, I should say. And then I put that in the freezer, and then I just take one out at a time and plop it in my water along with my lemon. And that's another very detoxifying thing, but also hopefully calming for the nervous system and the digestion too. So that is quite a lengthy list. So I just want to take a moment and just tell you guys, if you don't mind interacting with me a little bit on these lives, it helps me to get the algorithm to push this talk out to the other members of the group, because once it recognizes that there's some interaction going, it rewards you by showing it to more people. So if you're watching this live, just leave me a comment that says #live. If you're watching the replay, then you can just do a #replay if you don't mind. That's helpful for me, just because then I also know who watched it live and who is on the replay and all that good stuff. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about, we talked a little bit about the heavy metal detox smoothie, and so that was one of the other categories on the poll for today's live. Why do we need it? So for those of you who don't know and who are just sort of new to this whole idea of healing your spasmodic dysphonia naturally, our spasmodic dysphonia is a result of a combination of things. So one of the things is heavy metals that are in our brain primarily, but everywhere in our body. So why are the metals a problem? Well, I had mentioned earlier about the fact that they interrupt the signal. If they're sitting on a nerve pathway, they can actually just be sort of like a deflective shield that shoots the signal, the electricity, because our brain is basically electricity, and that's how it communicates with other parts of our body. So that electric impulse is trying to carry down the nerve pathway, and when it gets interrupted by the piece of metal that's sitting there, it can divert it to a completely different place. It can just stop it cold. It can have so many different effects. So that's one of the ways that heavy metals can affect us. But also the pathogens that are in our bodies. So there's a certain strain of Epstein-Barr virus, and then there's also a certain strain of shingles virus that combine for this toxic brew, along with trauma and emotional things too. But so the pathogens actually are supercharged by the presence of the metals. So the pathogens actually wind up eating the metals, consuming them, interacting with them. And when that happens, then there's two things that happen actually. There's a mutation of that virus that can result as a stronger form of that virus as it's proliferating. And then in addition, the excrement that comes from the virus that has been in contact with the metal is extra toxic. It's a neurotoxin to our nervous system and to our brain. And so the neurotoxins, as well as the super charged up, it's like, Spider-Man got in touch with some radiation through a spider bite. So we get zapped by these super bugs that have been supercharged by the metals. And so one of the important aspects of the healing is to get rid of the metals. And, science in general is starting to recognize the toxicity of heavy metals in a lot of circles, but it's not widely talked about just because we're exposed to them in so many ways that make a lot of money for people. For instance, the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want you to know about all the metals that are in their products. The fragrance industry doesn't want you to know how many metals are in plug-in wall fresheners or Febreze or dryer sheets, all of that stuff. And we actually can absorb it through our skin. We can absorb metals through the air by inhaling it. So we're inundated with a lot of metals. And then, of course, metals are one of the biggest ingredients in conventional farming. So those pesticides and herbicides have a great deal of copper and other metals in them that help the fungus or the bugs from not being able to thrive, which should tell you anything that's going to kill a bug is probably going to be having some sort of effect on your biological tissue as well. That's a new way of thinking of things. Like, I never put two and two together before I started my healing journey that, a can of Raid that's killing a cockroach or whatever is, as I'm breathing that in, it's probably not good for me either. So we don't really think in terms of that, but we're exposed a lot. So I don't want to fear monger and make it like, oh my God, because that's one of the dangers of this lifestyle. Once you start getting awake to all of the things that are around you, it can get you a little paranoid and a little anxious. And that's not what I want to do, because what I'm here to tell you is that there's a solution. I'm not telling you just there's a problem and then nothing to do about it. I'm saying there's a problem, but also we can do something about it too. So that's, the bottom line. So the other subject I wanted to touch on that was in the poll was the fact that we have trouble swallowing and sometimes have trouble taking deep breaths. Sometimes our breathing gets restricted and constricted. Now, there's different types of breathing issues, but there is a certain kind that is also vagus nerve related. So just as spasmodic dysphonia is affected from branches of the vagus nerve, it's pretty simplistic to say it's vagus nerve because the vagus nerve is just one nerve running from your brainstem down to your reproductive area in your body on both sides of your body, but it has a gazillion branches. So when I refer to the vagus nerve, I'm really referring to the branches of the vagus nerve. And so just depending on where the inflammation is, oftentimes the nerves get, let's say, irritated. Like, say we just went through a traumatic experience and we're upset. Our adrenaline is running, and we're in this constant state of worry or sadness or anger, whatever. All of those things get us pretty activated. So the nerve over time can sort of become, I don't want to say damaged, but a little bit fatigued. And when that happens, these root hairs come off of the nerve. And so it's like a string of yarn. You know how you see all those little strings kind of coming off the main string of yarn? So when that happens, the myelin sheath of the nerve is compromised. And when that happens, and then we have the presence of heavy metals and pathogens such as Epstein-Barr virus, those viral little particles can find their way into that little arm between the root hair and the actual root. So it's almost like an opening, a vulnerability for the pathogen to settle in there. So that happens various places in our body. Anywhere that you have nerve pain, if you have a neuropathy in your foot, if you have a faulty back, your back pain, you have an achy, restless legs or whatever. Anything nerve related is basically, and if it's a chronic symptom, And if there's no reason, you didn't get injured recently, like nothing hit you, didn't get hit by a truck or something that's causing this injury, generally speaking, it is a vulnerability in the myelin sheath of the nerves, and then the pathogens get in there. And then once they're in there, unless you actively are trying to kill them off and give an environment that they cannot proliferate in, then it stays inflamed, because there's no healing that can happen as long as the viruses are still actively in there. So that happens in various places. So very commonly, people who have spasmodic dysphonia can't swallow very well, and I experienced that as well myself. I used to have a devil of a time swallowing pills to take my supplements and stuff like that. That was always like I was throwing them up on a regular basis because it would just trigger me. But so that is just that little, probably the neighboring nerve that controls the voice is the next one over is the one controlling the swallowing. So that is why we can have that issue. And then that vagus nerve goes all the way down to your reproductive area. So it also controls our breathing. And the branches of the vagus nerve also control the breath and the diaphragm. And so that also is why we can also have, I used to have this weird thing happen to me where my diaphragm would seize up. It would get to be like hard as a rock, and I couldn't relax it. It would just be stuck. And then I couldn't really take a full breath. And then I had another weird thing that would happen. It would like make me feel like I couldn't take a deep breath. I couldn't feel like I could take a deep breath, and it would cause me like a lot of anxiety, because then I would start feeling like I couldn't breathe. And so what I'd have to do is just sort of start panting, or just sort of like taking little short breaths and talking myself off that ledge until I could kind of get it into a groove. So Susan is asking, what do we do for this? We do the same thing that we're doing for healing our spasmodic dysphonia. We are eliminating the troublemaker foods that keep our viruses active in our body. We're starting to feed our body more of the foods that I just listed. We're going to repair our liver. We're going to repair our adrenal glands. We're going to repair our nerves. And we're going to eliminate the metals that also are actively keeping everything kind of at an escalated level of toxicity. In addition to all of that, we have to work on the other side of things, which is our mindset, our nervous system, our emotional state, and our state of energy. How are we showing up? Kathy says, I have POTS and lightheaded and you can't breathe. Yep, similar thing. So it's also vagus nerve related, and I know it can cause your heart rate to feel out of crazy, sometimes too high, sometimes too low. The breathing thing, all of these conditions are actually just groups of symptoms. And you'll notice that there's a lot of overlap. When you're talking about neurological symptoms, what the symptoms we experience with spasmodic dysphonia has some crossover, you can see right here, with POTS. Also has some crossover with Lyme disease. Also has some crossover with MS. So let's see, will there be a replay? Yes, I will save this and there will be a replay. So, but thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And yes, you're going to watch it from the beginning. That's a great idea. Yes, if you just came in midway, you can watch it from the beginning after we're done. So, the great thing about these protocols is that we can heal all by healing one, which is amazing. So basically, all of the protocols that we're talking about are going to heal anything that you have going on in your body. So that's the beauty of this. It's a lot to do, and I'm not going to tell you it's super easy and it's a know-nothing thing. Obviously, it is something important, and hard to do at times when we're faced with a lot of other things to do too, or, social situations. So let's see, Elizabeth is asking if certain medical procedures, I won't say the name because I don't want to get banned on Facebook for talking about this, but yes, they do contain heavy metals. So that is, yep, Kathy Bellew says, yep, they sure do contain aluminum and mercury. So, we just have to kind of use our own judgment. Let's see, Eloise is asking, was there a noticeable time after you started celery juice where you noticed a difference, improvement in healing your spasmodic dysphonia, I'm assuming? Let me see. So when? Okay, so when I first started healing, I did it kind of the way I don't recommend anyone do it. I went all in right away. I went from eating a keto diet to eating a vegan diet in a day. After about 2 or 3 weeks of just sort of dabbling, I decided I was going to do my first original 369 cleanse, which was not a great idea because my body wasn't ready for it. So it basically caused all of these things that I'm telling you to not do all at once. I did all at once. So what happened to me is it kicked up the storm in my body and caused all of my symptoms to get elevated. And I didn't listen to myself. I just continued on. I was stubborn, which I guess is paying off now because it did eventually work. But in the beginning, I wound up shooting myself in the foot, so to speak, because I made my symptoms worse instead of better at first. And then, honestly, it took a period of time for me to heal my voice. It was 2.5 years of dedicated, attention to doing all these things there's my cat. For me to have my full speaking voice back. And it happened like that. It like Easter Sunday, it started coming back, and then and this was 2021, and every day after that it got stronger and stronger, and then it just never went back. And so a couple of things, I had an emotional release like the day before. I think that I had some energy blocked in my throat. I had also started the heavy metal detox smoothie full recipe a couple months prior to that. So I think those are a couple of things that I can point out that I finally was able to do those things, and then it helped me to, then escalate across the finish line because I had laid all the groundwork. I had helped my liver expel enough toxins that then I could, and I brought my viral load down and got rid of enough metals that then my voice could start functioning normally again. So let's see. Elizabeth's not trying to be controversial. I know, it's silly that it is controversial. Let's see here. Kitty wants to say hello. Yes, and here's my dog as well, because they always have to be in on the show. So, hi, Bogey. This is Bogey. You hear him clicking around. Hi. Yes. You're famous, Bogues. No, he'll be giving potographs later. Anyway, so, gosh, you guys, we covered a lot today. So, anyone have any other questions, or leave me a comment of a number 1 if you guys are just starting your medical medium journey and starting to implement some of these things. Enter a 2 if you've been at it a while and you kind of probably this was all review for you guys if you've been at this for a while. But I do have a couple of clients who have been now doing this for a couple of years, and they feel like they are just almost fully healed. So that is exciting to witness. And then also, just to give you guys some insight and some hope that, you can be marching alongside them, very soon. So I see some ones, I see some twos, and gosh, if you're just starting out, I'm super proud of you. I know this has got some challenges to it, and again, here's my dog, lovely. So the thing is that we're looking for progress. We're not looking for perfection. If you can do 1% better tomorrow than you did today, you're moving in the right direction. And again, I want you to, I know 2.5 years sounds like a really long time, but if I could tell you that it was guaranteed, you would 100% get your voice back in 2.5 years if you just began doing these things. I think that most people would say, hands down, sign me up, I'm doing it. So it's just important to kind of dig into that possibility. And, the thing is you guys have me as an example, and I did not have that. I had to figure it all out for myself. Medical Medium does not write about spasmodic dysphonia because it's kind of a rare condition. It's not in the global scheme of things. Yes, there are a lot of people that have it, but also it's not as common as many, many other symptoms. So he writes about the ones that are most popular, most afflicting most people. So I had to take my other symptoms other than my spasmodic dysphonia. I had a lot of others, and he does write about spasming in the body. So you can, even though he doesn't specifically say of the voice, you can sort of just transfer the knowledge and the recommendations from spasming to the vocal spasming and dystonia. He does talk about dystonia. So that's kind of what I wound up doing when I was healing myself, and just taking all of the, recommendations. And I just always had that gung-ho attitude of doing it as if I knew it was going to work. And I want to just challenge you all to just try that. Try and dig down deep and find that for yourself too. Because that's going to be what gets you through those dark days when you're just feeling a little discouraged and it's not showing up yet. So I believe in you. I know you can do it. Bogey believes in you too. Anyway, thanks so much for spending time with me today, and I look forward to more questions. Let's see, is eating celery the same as juicing? Unfortunately, you cannot eat enough celery to do the same effect that the celery juice actually has for your body. Eating celery is great, don't get me wrong. Hey, if that's all you can do, sure, eat it. But also, we want to kind of remove the pulp out of it too, because that gives you a main line into the hepatic portal. So when the celery juice goes into your system, the idea is it doesn't activate your digestive process. It kind of sneaks by the stomach glands and goes directly into the hepatic portal. And so that is a miraculous special quality that it can do, because then it can help start detoxing the liver, and then it can move even farther up through into the bloodstream and into the brain, which is kind of rare because not everything can pass the blood-brain barrier either. Wild blueberries can, celery juice can, but not all things are equal with that. So those are really beneficial things. So yeah, let's see what else. Kathy says, thank you. Oh, thank you for being here. I'm so glad. And thank you for all of your comments. It helps me to know where you guys are at and what's on your mind. If you don't tell me, I might not know what concerns or questions you have. So, that's why I'm here. So just to give as much info as I can. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. And thank you guys for being here. And I'll make sure that the replay is up shortly so you can go back and watch from the beginning. I love you so much. Mwah. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Hopefully next Sunday. Same time, same bat channel. We'll see you there. Bye.